Hey everybody, in today's video we're going to talk about property maintenance. That's right, whether you own a home, a townhome, a patio home, or live in an apartment, it doesn't matter. There are certain items in your house that you need to maintain, and some of those things are fairly straightforward. I was inspired to do this video by a very true story. The story is that a friend of mine was trying to maintain their property. They had hired an elderly gentleman who was a neighbor who recently moved away to service their exterior unit, their condenser unit on their house. Well, the problem is that this doesn't really need a whole lot of maintenance, not any that most people can do themselves, but unfortunately, this person believed that there was an external filter on their condenser unit, which is the second stage, or the first stage, depending upon your perspective, of how an air conditioning system works. There's no external filter here. They were paying $100 a month to have this maintained with a new filter that wasn't getting installed. In fact, there wasn't anything happening. And so this went on for years, and I feel very bad for this person, but it's one of the reasons I was inspired to do this video. So let's head inside and talk about the filters and the kind of maintenance you can do on your own property to prevent any catastrophes or uncomfortable situations. Let's build it. So let's go ahead and start with the air conditioner in your house. Most air conditioners in your home, townhome, apartment, flat, whatnot, they happen to have two stages. You have a first stage and a second stage. You have a stage with a condenser, and you have a stage with a blower where you actually have air exchange within the home. Now, almost all of them feature that, which is some form of return ducting that goes to the unit itself, gets processed through obviously super cooled tubes, and then blown out through the rest of the home. In this situation, you have to change this filter at least once a month. A lot of people will, of course, change them more often. Now, of course, this is during the high use parts of the year. So in the summer, you need to change it about once a month or once every 2 weeks. And during the winter, same thing. That's usually during the peak times. You can get away with doing less during the course of the year, but it gets you out of the habit of making sure that your air is in good shape. Why do you need to have your air in good shape? Well, first of all, to protect yourself from dust, allergens, and other things like that float around that are airborne. That's the first thing. The second thing is more important than even that. Well, a lot of people would argue that, but it is very important. And the reason it's important is you need to protect your coils from getting dirty. You want to keep the air pollution, the dirt, the dust, all of that, from making it up to the coils and making the unit less efficient, which will cost you more money and lead to the unit breaking down. So we have to change these filters. Let's jump on that. Filters can need to be removed with a tool of some kind, a drill driver, whatnot, if they have that kind of attachment. In this case, we're using a screw to hold up this particular one, and also a couple of clips that just fold down and make it accessible for the whole grate to come swinging down on its position. Now watch your head in these situations. You do not want to take one of these in the noggin. Looks like I've got to take a vacuum to this too, which also you should do somewhat more often than you would think. Maybe once or twice a year, just vacuum through these grates. All right, now we're gonna pull these out. We wanna do it when the unit's running, and we wanna make sure we don't bump a bunch of dust off of the unit itself. So you'll notice that those are clearly marked with the size. These are 20 by 20 by 1 inch. There's two of them. Now, you could get a 40 by 20 by 1 inch, and it would probably be even better. I usually run a piece of tape between them. You'll also notice that on the side of the filter, is arrows, which shows you which direction the air is flowing, which gives you an indication of which way to do it. Now, that's important because you don't want to put them in upside down, although I'm not sure it does a whole lot of difference, but at least that's what the manufacturer tells you. These filters I'm going to pull out while the unit's running and put up the fresh ones right now. One done. Two done. And it's just that simple. Now we close up the grate. That doesn't feel real secure. Try that again. There we go. One side, two sides. You can see why we put a screw in over on this other side. Doesn't seem to want to catch. The homeowner previously must have really done a number on this. There we go. All right, part one done. Okay, another place that you're gonna have some filters and some filters that need to be replaced is your microwave. A lot of people don't think about this, and microwaves have a couple of different locations for their filters. They can have them up underneath the unit for ventilation hood effects from your range, or they can have them up top, which is the filter we're going to be replacing today. Let's take a look at that. Here we go. Now you're going to want to look up your particular unit so that you know the location for all of your filters. It's not that hard. In fact, most of the modern microwaves nowadays have one of these here, a little code that you can take a picture of with your phone. It'll redirect you to the website for the specific appliance. You can also look up all the parts that are maintenance parts for you. Looking at this though, we took out the old filter, the brand new filter wrapped in plastic. All right, so we now take this one, this buddy here, put it up where that other one was. We're good to go. Done. Now, we got another one we can do in the kitchen. All right, the next thing we're doing is the refrigerator. Now, modern refrigerators have ice makers and water dispensers and things like that. Well, you should probably filter that water. If you're not doing it with an inline filter, which, believe it or not, you should probably change every once in a while. Also, hopefully you're doing it with a whole house water conditioning system. Other than that, modern refrigerators are giving us the opportunity to filter the water before it gets to the dispenser or to the ice trays or the ice makers. Let's get started on replacing that filter as well. That's pretty easy. Same drill as before. You're gonna want to have already scanned your refrigerator, looked up the model number, and found out what parts you're gonna need. This is a tier 1 water filter. It's basically the same thing that GE uses, only it just is a little cheaper. I don't mind using these parts. It also has alignment arrows on it. It's also should be sealed up in a couple of different ways, wrapped in plastic, sealed with a cap. And these things are, well, they're not perfect. You have to drain through them right away in order to prevent any issues with the water quality initially. So we're gonna use 2 gallons of water to flush through this once we replace it. So. Now, these things should be replaced whenever the refrigerator tells you. Believe me, most modern fridges will tell you when to replace your water filter. So we open up the door, we flip it out so it's parallel or perpendicular to the lid. We give it a twist and pull. Not much of a twist, just a little pull. And there, this thing is out. We got it done. Now, we need to put the new one in, same as before. So we'll do that real quick. Take this, set it in so it lines up, give it a little push, swing it over, locks it in place, close the door. It's that easy. Now, the most important aspect, of course, is running the water through it. So let's do that. Make sure you have a gallon water pitcher available. That way, you know you've taken at least 2 gallons out of the thing. And if you can get this done relatively quickly before anything processes through, that should be the way to go. So right now the door controls are locked. I'm unlocking them. And now we take our water out. Got to clear all that air out. And it's gonna burp. That's okay. One gallon. And 2 gallons. And it's just that easy. Now there's one more thing that you can do if you're in a house, a townhome, a patio home, a flat, an apartment. If you have access to your water heater, you can actually drain your water heater to release the sediment from the bottom if you have a release valve at the bottom. You attach a garden hose, you send it to wherever you're allowed to put your effluents, which is basically a fancy word for saying the water from it, draining it properly, someplace where you're allowed to do so. And it clears the sediment from the base of the water heater, which is where the element is located, and it breathes new life into your water heater and can extend its life because it's not trying to overcome all of that sediment. Of course, that depends a lot on the kind of hard water that you have in your area, but we'll do a real quick run through of what you would do to do that without actually doing it, since unfortunately, recently at this home, it's already been done. Let's go look at that.
One of the most overlooked aspects of preventative maintenance in your household is going to be your water heater. Water heaters have a tendency to accumulate sediment near their elements, which will make them less efficient. Removing the sediment from the element area will allow the water heater to be not only more efficient, but cost you less money and last much, much longer. And it's very simple. As you can see, all you have to do is attach a simple garden hose to your outlet that's on the bottom of your water heater. This can come in various forms, including something that looks more like a hose bib outdoors that you would normally just stick a hose on anyway. In this case, we have this type of a connection. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to release it here. And on the other end, you're going to see sediment come out at the same approximate time. It's important to have somebody standing on the other end, or to be able to get out to the other end yourself to watch the sediment slip out of the supply side. And that's it. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, and that's your basic home maintenance. It's very easy. Those are just a few tips that you can do around your property to just do general maintenance so that you don't, A, if you're renting, don't have to call a maintenance man, or B, if you're an owner, you don't have to call a maintenance man. You can do all of this yourself. It's really straightforward and easy, and it makes everything in your household last longer. Just a few minutes every month or every 6 months or every year can save you an awful lot of money in the long run, especially with your water heater, water bill, etc., etc. But anyway, for more videos like this, keep tuned into the channel. Thanks for checking out Cultured Builds this time, and until next, just build it. Thanks for checking out this episode of Cultured Builds. Let's build it.